Do I have audio? I do. Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for today's MetaStock webinar hosted by us, MetaStock. Thanks so much always for joining us. Today we're coming from my basement, the temporary MetaStock studio, and today's presenter is our very own Jeff Gibby, and he'll be talking about basic formula writing, MetaStock formula writing 101. Hey, as you're coming on, I see some people have already come on. Make sure you say hello. Hello, Scott Gow, superfan Scott Gow. Hello, Dan666 Mega. Hello, Jay Ron. Hello, Jeff Gibby. Hello, everyone. Hello. I hope you're doing great in these continuing times of uncertainty. And the markets, I see, aren't doing horrible today, so that's good. Hey, answer this question. Are you up or down? Are your positions, is your portfolio right now up or down? Up or down? Put that in the comments. All right, here's my notes. Oh, today's video presentation is being simulcast on GoToWebinar and YouTube. You can chat in either one and it'll work, but if you want to watch it later as a recording, it's going to be right here on YouTube, and all you have to do is come back here and hit play and you can watch this presentation. A couple of quick things I wanted to talk about as we are the sponsor of this webinar. I'd like to show you, we have the APAC Summit coming up. That'll be on the 15th, which is a week from, well, if you're here in the US, it'll be a week from Friday evening. If you're in Singapore, where many of the presenters are, it'll be on Saturday morning. So if you'd like to register for that, just go to our homepage and click on that banner on the top, and it'll take you, let's try that. Yep, there it goes. It'll take you to the page, and you can see there's various presenters. We've got Scott Cohen, or I'm sorry, Guy Cohen, Mark Belnick, Hunter Smith, Gary Burton, Tim Streighton, and Daryl Guppy, who I have to say is always very interesting. And the name of his presentation is not in Kansas anymore, which I think will be interesting to see. Okay, we've got about 2 minutes and 54 seconds. What else was I going to tell you about? Oh, tomorrow we have another webinar, and I forgot to grab the time. Oh, it's right in front of me. It's at 6 p.m. Eastern. That webinar is going to be I should say our guest is going to be Ed Downs, and it's going to be about chart pattern recognition and how to recognize the most profitable and consistent patterns on your charts. And it should be very interesting. Ed is always a very interesting speaker, and he's very scientific, which I enjoy. Science is great. All right, I see we've got Thomas Wood on here. I see we've got Crypto Expert. See, we got a few more people. We got about 2 more minutes to go. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and ask them now. Otherwise, I think I'll go ahead and put myself on mute, and we'll just wait a few more minutes for Jeff to come on. Thank you so much.
Hey everybody, Jeff Gibby over at MetaStock. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming today, by the way. Today's class, we're going to talk about creating formulas for MetaStock. So I am going to do my best to make it as not boring as possible. So I am logged into YouTube as well as GoToWebinar. So if you have questions, make sure to ask them, and I will do my best to answer them. But first, let's go ahead and get started here with our legal disclaimer. Today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using MetaStock and the accompanying software plugins. It is not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. MetaStock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of the software, any trading strategies, or the information provided in connection with the company. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed.
Hey, Jeff.
That. Yeah.
I didn't see the disclosure come up whilst you were reading it.
Well, thank you for letting me know. Let me unpause the screen.
I don't think you need to read it again, but maybe just...
I'm not going to read it again, but you're welcome to.
Well, I can flash it up. As long as you read it, I'll just
Can you see it
pop
now,
it up at it.
That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Okay, you can see it.
Actually, I'm having some issues,
Hello?
Jeff. You're starting to freeze up a little bit.
All right. Can anybody else see the disclaimer screen? It should be not paused anymore. So hopefully you
Jeff?
can see that. Yeah.
We're having some issues. I'm sorry. Your video and audio is starting to freeze up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Richie, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Your camera is frozen. Why don't you change the screen? Right now we're looking at the disclosure screen.
Disclaimer? Okay.
Yeah.
How's that?
Now I'm looking at the MetaStock screen. Maybe we should dispense with your beautiful face today?
Can you see?
Now you're okay.
All right. Let me know. I can kill it if it becomes too, like if it doesn't keep up. Just let me know if it keeps.
I hear you.
Issues.
Thank you, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
All right. So let me kind of get a flow going here again. Welcome to today's class. I hope you're doing well. I'm very curious. Today we advertised a class that was talking about formulas and how to do formulas and all of that kind of stuff. I know, Richie, you're a MetaStock user. I know Scott is. I know quite a few of you are. Let me know if you're using MetaStock already. Richie, thanks for noticing the new haircut. I did it myself. I call it COVID number 2. So I hope you like it. In any case, today what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about formula language. And I assume that all of you use MetaStock. Or for the most part, use MetaStock. If you're not familiar with it, I'm not going to talk a lot about MetaStock, but we're going to spend a good chunk of time today in code, and I'm going to do my best to not make that boring. And the reason I kind of like to do this class, I don't do this class very often. I think I did it about 5 years ago, but I think my real goal here is to get you not afraid of kind of going in and kind of getting your hands dirty when it comes to using MetaStock and the formula language. A lot of people think formulas and they might think, well, it's coding and it's really, really hard. And the truth is, it's not for everybody. That's definitely the case. But the real truth of it is it's really not that bad. And if you're just looking to go in and create like maybe a basic filter exploration or kind of design some of your own indicators, it's fairly straightforward, really. So my goal today is really to kind of get you using and comfortable with the MetaStock formula language. So let's go ahead and kind of get into it. Here's kind of what I wrote down in terms of what I'm going to talk about. And we're going to talk about basic explorations, basic formulas, using variables. And we're going to touch just about every part of the MetaStock program that's actually codable. So we're going to start with building indicators. We're going to start with kind of how to kind of display things in a chart in MetaStock. We're going to take that and build on it and grow on it until we kind of take that back into a scan, maybe work on some expert advisors and some system testing as well. So Lou, how you doing? I'm not sure. I don't remember a Lou me, but I'm sure I'd remember you if I saw a little bit more information. So in any case, thanks for coming. All right, let's go ahead and kind of talk a little bit about Very, very basic functions for MetaStock, because this is where we're going to start. I've kind of listed them all out. I've kind of tried to devise this PowerPoint in such a way that it might be useful. If you want a copy of it, drop me an email, jeffrey.gibby@metastock.com. But here are kind of some of the basic things that you want to know about MetaStock. Mostly what you're going to be dealing with is like data arrays. Most of the time when they're talking about data arrays, they mean open, high, low, close, or volume. Okay. We'll also be using quite a bit of math operators like plus and minus and greater than or less than or equal to. And we're going to be using and or. Okay. And we're going to do this quite a bit in MetaStock. But the first thing I want to do is kind of show you how to set up a pre-filter exploration. And we will do this in the software. Summer is looking good for you. Yeah, I love summer. It's my favorite year. Favorite part of the year. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about what a pre-filter exploration is and why you would want to maybe run one. Okay, a lot of people are going to have some maybe minimums in terms of what they want to look for a stock. So for me personally, I want stocks that are at least $5. And I don't really have an upper limit, but I'm going to show you how to put one on there anyway. And I want them to have a bit of an average volume that exceeds about 500,000 shares a day. So a pre-filter exploration, what that allows me to do is it allows me to go in and create a huge scan where I can scan all of the, let's say, optionable stocks. I'd like to trade options, and just build a list of the ones that kind of fit into my criteria. And the reason that you would want to run an exploration like that, I like to run mine about once a quarter, is you basically run that list, you save it, and then that's the list that you scan against every day. So in other words, like anything that's not something you consider tradable anyway is going to be something that gets filtered out and weeded out. So hello, Nelly. Welcome to the class today. So let's go ahead and kind of get into MetaStock, and I'll show you how to do it. It's actually very, very easy. And I'm going to go ahead and go into the Power Console right here. What I'm going to do is I'm already on the Explore tab. And what I've done is I've actually gone down to the All Explorations part of my Power Console. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually kind of I'm going to right click on here. I'm going to create a new exploration. And then I'm going to kind of create a name for it. So you can put anything, just about anything you want in here. And what I'm going to do is, this is just what it's going to show up in as the list. I'm going to start with 2 explanation points so I can find it fairly easily during the course of this class. And I'm going to call it my pre-filter exploration. Okay. Okay. Right here under notes, this basically is just going to be notes that describe the exploration. So this is, if you hover over an exploration, this is what's going to show up. And I do like to keep some notes. So in this pre-filter exploration, I'm going to look for a close price that's at least $5 and less than 300. You'll notice this isn't we're not coding right now. We're just making notes in terms of what we're going to do. And that's why if I look at this in about 6 months, I'll know what I was thinking. And has in average volume, and let's say that average volume is 500,000 shares, so 500,000. Okay, so that's my notes. Right down here, we'll talk a little bit about what kind of these things are. Now, filter is the first thing that we're going to kind of work with. And anything that you put, any criteria that you put in here is going to be stuff that actually kind of goes in. And if the stock doesn't meet that criteria, it's going to be filtered out. Okay. So in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want the close to be greater than $5. Okay. And you can actually write it like this. You can run it like this. And this will go through. If I run this as an exploration right now, this will go through and kind of filter out anything that's below $5. Okay, I'm going to actually abbreviate it though, and I'm just going to say C close is greater than $5. Okay, I also want to go in and say the next criteria that I want to put in here is that I want it to be less than $300. So I'm going to add the word and. I'm just going to say close again, and I can abbreviate it with the C again. And I'm going to say less than. So this one right here, 300. Okay, pretty easy so far, right? And then the last criteria that I want is volume is greater than 500,000 shares. Okay. Now, here's where we're going to kind of, I could come in here, and this is total, and volume is greater than 500,000 shares. I can do that if I wanted to. I don't like to do that with volume, and there's a very, very specific reason for that. Typically with volume, it's quite a bit more, let's say, erratic. It's very, very likely something at average, let's say 500,000 shares, but be under 500,000 shares when I randomly run this, right? So what I want to do, instead of making volume be greater than 500,000 shares, I want to go in and figure out what an average volume is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into the formula language. And what I want to do is I want to do a moving average of the volume. So I'm going to show you how that works real quick. And with MetaStock, one of the things that I really like is all of the indicators that actually exist in MetaStock are going to be available if I just click on this functions dialog box. So I'm going to go ahead and click on functions right here. It's going to open up on a little bit of a screen over here. I'm going to just bring it over here so you can see it. Okay, good. It was fun. It was getting a little funky on me. Over here we have different function categories like analysis tools. You can look for different candlestick patterns. If you wanted to find all the bullish Haramis or bearish Haramis, you could use these candlesticks. You can see that they're kind of broken up pretty well in different kind of categories and that kind of stuff. So if I wanted to find a moving average, I could click on indicators here, and then it's just going to list all of the indicators, or I could just kind of click on all and just go down to moving average and find it. Okay, it is starting to run a little bit slow for me, but let's go ahead and just do it. MOV. Okay, and what you're going to see here is kind of the format for these tools. So I'm just going to, what I'm going to do right now, I don't want you to kind of focus on this too much. I'm going to kind of walk you through how this works, but this isn't going to be that hard. I'm going to put this on the clipboard right now. Okay, and what I'm going to do, instead of having that one here, I'm just going to put the function for the moving average. So right now I'm going to build a moving average out. We want a moving average. What do we want a moving average of? What is the data array? Michael, you should be able to see what I'm looking at. Yes, you should be able to see an exploration editor. And if you're in GoToWebinar, would you let me know that you can see this? If you can, Michael, it isn't uncommon in GoToWebinar to, you might just have to refresh the screen. If it persists,
Jeff, I can see everything. Okay, and I'm watching through GoToWebinar.
Okay, good. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. If you can't see it and you're on the app, I understand you have to swipe left or right, and it'll show you the screen of what we're looking at. So, and if that doesn't work, just go to the YouTube channel because it works really good that way too. So, but if you're on the app, I understand. I've been told you have to just swipe one way or the other, and then the screen will show up. So, and if that doesn't work for you, Michael, oh, okay, it's working. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in here just in case anybody else needs it if they want to switch over to YouTube as well. So there we go. Thank you for letting me know it worked. Okay, so right now we've got close is greater than 5 and close is less than 300 and moving average of what? What do we want to make a moving average? In this case, we wanted to make a moving average of volume. So, and you can actually say VOL, or I'm just going to type in V for volume. Okay, and then usually for the periods, that's how many days you want in your calculation. Usually I do 30 or I do 50. Really all I want is I don't want it just to be under 500,000 for that day. Okay. These are right here are just calculation methods. So you've got exponential, simple, and a bunch of other stuff that you might use. Typically for this, I just use a simple. So leave only the S here, take everything else out. And now instead of looking at volume, I'm looking at a moving average of volume. And I want that to be greater than, so I'll put in the greater right here, 500,000 shares. Okay. Does that make sense for everybody so far? That's really the code. Right now, that's the code for the exploration. And let me know if you have questions on it. I'm going to look at a couple of questions. One said, can we search continuous 3 to 5 candle patterns, define their open close price relationships, etc. So when you're looking at 3 to 5 day candle patterns, I found they're very pretty well easy to define. If you're looking for like a morning star, here I'm just going to go to the candlestick functions and just show them to you real quick. That's a really good question. If you're looking for like, one of the things I like about MetaStock is most of those things are going to be defined already. So where did my functions? Here it is. So if I want a Harami cross or a 3 method or 3 dark candles, graystorm hammers, stuff like that, they're already written for me. If I don't see anything that in here that is defined and I want to kind of write something, usually you're just looking at open close relationships or high-low open close relationships over a couple of days. And if they're not here, you can usually define them pretty well. So good question. I hope that helped. There's about, I want to say there's about 40 or 50 candlestick patterns that are already pre-written for you. So also define the relationship between candlesticks and arbitrary moving averages. Not sure what you're asking there for there, Wen, but you can maybe you can rephrase it in a different way. Okay, Ali says, I want to know how to specify periodicity. I'm interested in weekly. And that's actually a really good question, Ali. You're not going to define periodicity in the formula language. So if when you're writing stuff for MetaStock in general, you're looking at a bar, not a period. When we run this exploration, we will say we want to run it against a daily or a weekly. Or when we go in and create an indicator in a minute, we'll say, okay, well, I'm going to apply that to a daily or a weekly chart. We don't specify a periodicity unless we're trying to on purpose to reference a higher time frame, which I'm not going to talk about today because it kind of gets a little tricky. So, cool. Oh, David Monsky says, I can't see the print on the phone. I'm sorry. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. I don't have advice for you. So, although I do have the PowerPoints, you can email me and I'll send you the PowerPoints there. So, anyway, Scott says I understand the formula, so that's good. Okay. All right. So that's kind of while we're in the scan, I kind of want to talk about a few other things just to kind of give you an idea. Really, we've got all of these columns that are available here, and the only one that I've really worked with right now is the filter column. I said, okay, I want to filter everything else out that doesn't match this. If I want to be able to rank and sort on columns, I can actually use these other columns to do ranking and sorting and filtering. So, for example, like we're going to run this scan against the optional stocks. It's going to weed out everything out that doesn't kind of fit this. I'm going to take the rising window out though. But what I want to do is I want to also be able to see maybe what the close price is and maybe what that moving average for volume is. So I'm going to go ahead and come in here to the filter A, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in C right here, and I'm just going to have it define filter A. And for filter A, what it's going to do is it's going to pull the most recent close for me. That's it. That's all I have to do. I'm going to name this column so I don't have to remember what it is. And so what I'm going to do to name the column is I'll just double click right here, and I'm going to type in the word close right here. And that's all I have to do for that. If I also want to see what the average volume is, I'm just going to take this little average volume function that I just wrote. I'm going to copy it to my clipboard by hitting Control C. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put that in here. And then I'm going to double click in here and I'm going to say average volume. And there is a space limit, so I'll just put average V, or I could put in av vol, and I'll do av vol. Okay. So now when I send this against a list of securities, well, let's just go ahead and do it. So we'll go ahead and click OK right here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and find that pre-filter exploration right here. Okay. We'll run it against the local. I've downloaded data on my hard drive. I'm going to run it against this local optionable list. So we'll go ahead and start the exploration real quick. I'm going to do that. And you'll notice right here, going back to your question, daily, right here, this is where we're setting the periodicity that it's looking at. Okay? So we're never doing that in a form. Well, there are some scenarios where I've done that in a formula before, but for the most part, unless you're doing something where you want to be on a daily chart and looking at what the weekly something is doing, something like that, very, very technical things. For the most part, you won't write with a periodicity in mind. MetaStock's kind of blind when it comes to periodicity. It's fine. Ali Abel asks another question. How do you know what the parameters are for the rising window? Typically for a rising window, they're all pre-programmed and they're not a lot of definable patterns. But if you want to see what's written in there or what that function is doing, reference the manual. So if I come back in here, this is running. I'm going to go ahead and let it finish running. But if I come into the help manual for MetaStock, I'll go to MetaStock help right now. I can actually just type in here, rising window. It's right here. And this is what it's looking for, a window, i.e. gap between the high of the first candlestick and the low of the second candlestick. This produces the same results as a gap up function. So it's looking for a gap up between here and here. So anytime you want to look at this, or for any of the functions in MetaStock, to search for it, it's going to show you exactly what it wants. And this actually does, this is a great example. Thank you for giving it to me because it actually even drew it to a picture for you. So there you go. All right, let's go back to that scan. We'll check in on it real quick. Okay, here it is. Okay, so you'll notice out of that 4,300 or so that we actually wrote, that 4,300 that we started with, 2,300 of those are rejected. Of the ones that are left, there's 1,986. So if we're going to save this list, you can save list right here. You'll name the list, it saves it for you. And now if you're just scanning this list every day, you're scanning half the stocks, which about twice as fast. It might not be exactly twice, but it's going to be quite a bit faster because you're not looking at these stocks that don't meet your pre-filter anyway. So that's why you'd want to do it. You'll see right here, we've got the close and we've got the average volume. There is something that looks, I was going to say this looks a little bit different or incorrect, and it is. You'll notice that it's giving us a 1 in all of these columns. It's not giving us the average volume. And actually, that's a good learning opportunity. If I come back into my pre-filter exploration, I know exactly why that's happening. I'm going to tell it to give me the moving average volume. I said to tell me, true or false, is it over 500,000 shares? So if I wanted to actually see what the average volume is, I'd need to take out this 500,000 shares right here, and it would just give me the average volume. So that's how you also beta test some of your own stocks. So there you go. One says it would be better if we can define our own moving average line. Oh yeah, absolutely. So if you want to define your own moving average line one, you can do whatever you want. But if you're typically, and we will play with moving averages a little bit more as we get into indicators and stuff like that. But if you want to define your own moving average line, you've got the ability to define it of whether you want it on the open, the high, the low, the close, the volume, or something else, how many days you want into it, what type of a calculation method you want. So you can get as specific as you want with it. So there you go. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and click on OK here. And I think that's about what I wanted to cover with regard to that. So let me kind of come back in here to the setting the pre-filter expiration. And now we're gonna kind of deal with indicators for a minute. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do, the way that I'm gonna kind of talk about this, just because it's very simple, is we're gonna put a pivot indicator on here, okay? So, and the pivot calculation is the high plus the low plus the close divided by 3, okay? In MetaStock code, that's H plus L plus C, okay, divided by 3. And so let's go ahead and write that as an indicator in MetaStock. And we'll plot it, we'll play with it, we'll modify it, we'll adjust it, and hopefully it'll be fun. So let's go ahead and kind of back into MetaStock. Instead of going into the Power Console, where I'm going to go is there's this little function button right here that's called the indicator builder. You can go ahead and click on that. Okay, and I'm going to come over here. It's going to pop up on the wrong screen, which is fine. I'm going to bring it over here, and we're going to build an indicator here. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and click on New, and we're going to create a new indicator. It's going to give us a window that looks like this. Okay, looks a little bit scary. It's not really. And what I'm going to call this is I'm going to go ahead and put that exclamation point in front. So it's going to be towards the top of the list. And I'm going to call this my pivot indicator. And we're just going to play with this a little bit. So if you remember from the PowerPoint, a pivot, at least the way that this one is going to be defined, it's going to be the high plus the low plus the close divided by 3. So I'll just write that out in terms of the same way we're writing things out. So high plus low, high plus low plus close divided by 3. And just so that the order of operations go correctly, I want to put parentheses around high plus low plus close so that it adds those first, and then it'll divide it by 3. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Scott. You're welcome. He's like, thanks for doing this webinar. I hope it's helpful. I was kind of curious as how many people would sign up for this because we're kind of getting into the weeds, but hopefully this is helpful. I'm going to go ahead and click OK right now. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and click on Close. Okay. And what you're going to notice is it's going to show as that pivot indicator will come to the top of my indicator quick list. MetaStock knows that I just built an indicator. It knows I'm going to probably apply it to a chart, so it puts it up at the top for me. I'm going to go ahead and plot it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this right here. I'm going to drop it onto my chart real quick. And what we should have is we should have that pivot definition. So we have high plus low plus close divided by 3. Okay. You'll know, I'm going to go ahead and change the color of it just a little bit. And we'll just go ahead and double click on it. So we'll just go ahead and make it blue. Okay, make it a little bit thicker. And this isn't really that important, but I just I want to be able to kind of grab it and move it around and all that kind of stuff. So that's it. We just wrote an indicator for MetaStock. And what I want to do is actually kind of show you different tricks to manipulating this. So most of the time you really don't need a pivot. A lot of people are looking for kind of distance from pivots and that kind of stuff, but they want to do other things with the pivot. And go ahead and double click on this indicator. It's going to bring up that kind of a dialog box where I can kind of on the fly adjust this indicator and kind of play with it and that kind of stuff. And there's just a few things that I kind of want to talk about as we kind of go through how a pivot indicator works and how an indicator in general works. I just use pivot as a bit of an example to give context. So one of the first thing that I want to show is how to make this. A lot of times when I'm working with code, like if I write a pivot, I'm going to be using that pivot over and over and over again at different points of my code. So one of the things you can do to kind of make things easier is you can define what they call a variable in MetaStock. And the way you do that is I'm going to go ahead and put, just type in x semicolon equals. And actually, no, I'm not going to do x. X is overdone. I'm going to do PVT, pivot, semicolon equals high plus low plus close divided by 3. I'm going to go ahead and put a semicolon right there at the end of the line. And then I'm going to write PVT here. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And then I'm going to figure out, pivot is a reserved one. So let's just try PT. PT is, I can't define it as pivot because that's used already. We'll try a different one. And if that doesn't work, we'll go ahead and do X. So I've got pivot, a semicolon, high plus low plus close divided by 3. That basically takes this line and assigns it to my variable PT. And then PT will plot that line. So nothing should actually change on the chart. We should still just have our blue line when I go ahead and load this in. Okay. And it's going to take a second. Should have agreed. Let's go ahead and wait for it to respond. Okay. And then hopefully, okay. Okay. It's sometimes, and we've still got our line right here. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and click into it again, and let me show you why that's useful. So if I wanted to do the pivot line, which I've got on here, it's defined by pivot, but let's say I also wanted a moving average of that pivot. Well, I can go in and kind of create a moving average pivot, but I don't have to repeat this part of the code. So I'm going to go ahead and go back in to the functions dialog box here. We're going to go to the moving average function. So I need to click out of the all and go into the moving average function. And we'll just give it a second. Should have restarted. MOV, moving average. Again, I'm going to copy this code out here. And then I'm going to say I want the moving average. Now for data array, remember we did volume before, okay? But what I'm looking for right now is the pivot, the moving average of the pivot. So I could actually just say I want the moving average of PT. And when MetaStock kind of goes through and kind of parses this code, it's just going to use this high plus low close divided by 3 calculation. It's going to do a moving average of that. I'll say I want that for 20 periods, okay? And I want that to be, we'll just do simple for, and again, there's exponential, simple, T, I don't remember what that is, triangular, variable, weighted, volume-based. So I'll just do a simple for right now. Since I have a semicolon here, you'll see right here, just to go through the code of what we're doing, we're going to define the pivot here with this line, high plus low plus close divided by 3, okay, semicolon. Then we're going to plot it just by saying PT, and then we're going to have a moving average plotted of the PT 20 period simple moving average. Okay, we'll go ahead and click on OK here. And now, once it kind of gets done kind of putting this all together, and it does take a second when you're, as you might have noticed earlier, when you're kind of modifying code like this, MetaStock goes in and, but what's going to be the end product is I should have this blue line, and then I should have a 20 period moving average of that blue line, okay? And all of that was written with one indicator, just using a semicolon to kind of say I want to write a new line on there, okay? I'm going to go ahead and change this line, okay? And we're going to go ahead and make it red. Yeah. Whew. That was about as maybe technical as we're going to get, I think. I'm going to go ahead and let you ask any questions that you have. And then we're going to play with these 2 functions and show you how to set up trend lines, and ribbons, and alerts, and functions, and that kind of stuff. So I don't see a lot of questions coming in. Hopefully I didn't lose everybody. I realize this is a bit more technical than kind of, we're getting into the weeds today, but that's the whole point of it. And let me know if you do have questions. I'll probably go back in here. And now that I've got these 2 lines, I'm going to come back out here, and we're going to play with this code a little bit. Okay. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put it on a notepad here. Let's go ahead and open up Notepad, and I just want this code available to me as we go to start playing with it. So I'm going to put it over here. What about ETF? So Richie, yeah, ETF. Let's can you do ETFs with MetaStock is maybe what you're asking? You can. David wants to look at an FDX candle chart. Okay, all right. Okay, let's see, let's go ahead and do FDX. Okay, FedEx, do you want to see what FedEx is at? Okay, oh yeah, you can do oil ETFs, you can do XLV, you can do ETF. So just for, thank you for the question, Richie, and thanks for clarifying it. With the data that we get with Reuters, we covered just about 400,000 instruments or something. Like, it's a ridiculous number, but that includes ETFs, Forex, futures, currencies, whatever you want. Okay, FedEx had a bit of a closed at 172.42. David, there you go. It's okay. Okay. Let's take this particular function here, and let's show you how you can do some stuff with it. All right, I'm going to go into the expert advisor, and we are going to build an expert. It's not easy. Let's go ahead and click on new. Okay, try that again. It does not want to cooperate here. new. There we go. Okay. And what I'm going to do here, this is for a demo session. I should have restarted MetaStock, but so I'm going to go ahead and this is my demo expert, this expert advisor. Okay. And we are going to just have fun with expert advisors. Okay. All right. Go ahead and click into here. And I'm just going to kind of write a little bit of code for all of these different conditions and kind of just show you what I'm doing, maybe help you understand exactly what we're doing. If you played with expert advisors with MetaStock before, you know a trend ribbon, you've probably seen them. It just basically draws a ribbon on the chart when a certain condition is met. And that can be a bullish ribbon or a bearish ribbon. It can have a neutral state, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if we wanted to take the example we were working with my pivot indicator here, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this code in here back to my, I'm going to basically put it in here as a criteria. So again, we're going to define a pivot, okay? We're going to, but instead of plotting a pivot, what I'm going to say is I want my pivot to be greater than the 20-period moving average. So you'll see what I did right there is I just made a condition. This is a condition that's going to either be true or it's going to be false. So if my pivot is greater than the moving average, then we're going to have that as a bullish condition, okay? I'm going to go ahead and copy this exact code. I'm going to make it a bearish condition. I'm going to say if the pivot is less than the moving average, we're going to basically call that our bearish condition, okay? I'm going to go ahead and right here click on this ribbon. I'm going to have it display a ribbon on the chart. And I don't personally like any of the labels, so I'm going to turn those off because I always turn off the labels in here. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, all right? And this is our demo expert advisor. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and I'm going to attach it to the chart just so that you can see what we did there, okay? And you'll notice right here is our ribbon. I'm going to go ahead and move it right here on the chart. But as long as this pivot is above its 20-period moving average, we're going to go ahead and put bullish on the chart. How easy was that? Jack asked a question. Okay. Rodney says, I don't understand the colons and the semicolons on the formula. I'll go through that with you real quick. Thank you for the question, too. So in the formula, the semicolon equals is where I think that's the only place where we use a semicolon. That just tells MetaStock we're going to define the variable. Okay. That's it. So anytime you want to define a variable, and a lot of people never defined variables in coding, but I find it so useful that I worked it into what we're talking about today. But semicolon equal will basically allow you to define a variable that you can then plot and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So semicolons separate the statement. So this statement, if we looked at it for you, this basically says, I want to define PT as my pivot, high plus low plus close divided by 3. New statement, I want to plot the pivot. New statement, I want to plot the moving average of the pivot, okay? So every time I want it to start doing something new.
I guess I'm going to have to wait.
Honey, how are you doing? Come here.
I was trying to be honest with you at the moment.
Why don't you say hi to everybody?
Hi.
Okay, I'm working, honey. I love you.
Something.
Go tell mom. Okay, I'm working. I love you. Okay, but I'm working. Come on. Okay?
Drop it.
Okay, that's okay. If it's broken, it's okay.
Still works, but this is just a warning. You need to be extra careful with this controller.
Okay, honey. It's okay. Don't worry. Sorry about that. Okay. We broke a Nintendo controller. It's not the end of the world. But she's very upset about that. Okay. Hopefully we can edit that out on the recording. Or leave it. I don't care. So that's the colons in this.
Jeff,
Yeah.
that was a pretty serious. She broke her Nintendo recorder, so that'll stay in.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's fine. Is there a specific name for this coding? So we call it the MetaStock formula language. So it's not Python. It's a lot easier to use than Python. When I talk to people about what it does and what it is, I call it the MetaStock formula language, or it's very, very similar to Excel. It's function driven like it is in Excel. So there you go. Okay. All right. Yes, Ahmed, she was very, very upset. She's very upset. We have other ones. I mean, I think there's like, but anyway. What else I got even talk about? Okay, let's go back into the expert advisor. Okay, and so then every time you want to separate stuff, you'll just use a semicolon. So, and that's why we removed the semicolon before. You go back into the expert advisor. We're not quite done playing around with that, but we're going to kind of use the same concept to do highlights on a chart and that kind of stuff. So let me go into the expert commentaries, and I'm going to take this same piece of bullish code. So again, if we want to talk about the semicolon and the colon again, this time I just want to define the pivot. That's the first thing I want MetaStock to do. Semicolon. The second thing I want it to do is say, is that pivot above its moving average? So there we go. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So let's take this bullish real quick. Going to come in here to highlights. Okay. And what I want to do here is I'm going to make a green highlight. Okay. To match my ribbon. But I'm just going to use the same code. Okay. So the idea here is I'm not really saying, I'm just kind of giving you an idea of how this is supposed. Wow, 41 minutes in, really? We're going to go a little bit long today, Greg. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. I'm going to go ahead and click on New.
No problem. Let's do it.
Red highlight here. And we'll go ahead and click on red. Okay. And we'll do this as less than. Okay. We go ahead and click on OK. Click on OK. And you'll notice that's all we have to do. Now, every time the moving average is above it, the pivot is above its moving average, it's going to start to highlight green. If it's down below, it's going to highlight it red. So this stuff is very, very easy. Richard says, how do I find out the formula of the indicator for forecast analysis, MACD cross up? I believe if you go into the expert advisor, so this is another good kind of tip for you. I don't know if the forecasters are, actually they are. So if you want to see what the cross up functions are for any of the explorers, you can actually go in and look at them. Actually, how I learned how to code was actually playing with a lot of the built-in code that's open for MetaStock. But there you go. There's your forecast code for the MACD cross up right there. Easy. Scott says, how do you put that in a scan? You're getting in front of me. We'll cover it. We'll get there. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and click OK. We'll go ahead and click on close.
Dad, I wanted to show you.
Oh, honey, I
fixed it.
Oh, good. High five.
It was actually quite an easy fix.
Good. Good. I love you, honey. I'm going to lock the door. Don't worry. It's all fixed now. Okay. Okay. Corona, right? Working from home, all that kind of stuff. She's a good girl. Anyway, okay. Now what I want to do though is I want to kind of go back into the scanner and talk a little bit about a function that I find useful. It's called the cross function. So let's go ahead and go back into this code. Go ahead into the properties, okay? And we're going to go ahead and copy this piece of code again. I'm going to come in here to symbols. I'm going to create a new symbol. And what I want to do is this is going to be my green condition. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the chart and show you why I don't like to use something like this. So if I put a buy arrow on a chart every time that's above 0, you'll notice that it's going to put a lot of buy arrows on the chart, right? And typically what people are looking for when they want an alert like this, or they're looking for not it to be above 0, they're just looking for it to cross above 0. And we have a function that in MetaStock that's useful for that. And so what I'm going to do is going to go to the expert advisor. I'm going to go to the properties, and we're on the symbols tab. And what I'm going to do is instead of saying I want the PT to be greater than, I'm going to use a function that's called cross. And I want to get you in the habit of when you're kind of looking for these functions to kind of coming in here and looking in the function library for them. So what I'm going to do here is let everything kind of come back. I'm going to look for a function that's called a cross function. And the format for the cross is very simple. What do you want to cross? Okay. You're going to look for one data array or one set of values to be crossing up above another set of values. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK right here. And I'm going to just go ahead and say this, Control V. Now, people get really confused when they're using the cross function. And the way that I would say to remember it is the value you want to go higher goes first. So in the case of us wanting to, what we're wanting to look for is we're wanting to look for this pivot value to cross up above the red value. And since this is the value we want higher, this pivot value, that's the value we put first. So if I put cross PT, okay, and then for my data array, I want it to be that moving average. We'll go ahead and say we want this to be better than the moving average, okay? We go ahead and click on OK right there, okay? And that's going to be our little piece of code right here. So we have our pivot. We want our pivot to cross up above the moving average, okay? Over on graphic, if I click on graphic, I'm going to leave this as a by arrow, but I'm going to put it below the price book. And I'm going to put the label symbol below it. And then if I want to, I can kind of put a label here, and I'll just say cross up, okay? We'll go ahead and click on OK. We'll go ahead and click on OK. And there, now you can see we just get an alert when the cross up happens, okay? Hope that's easy. If we wanted the opposite to happen, we'll just go into the Explorer, Expert Advisor again. We'll go to Properties here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on New. And I'm going to, actually, I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to basically right-click on this and hit Copy. I'm going to right-click on hit Paste. And I'm just going to change the new one. We'll change this to our red symbol, okay? And then instead of going the cross, we want the moving average to move higher now. So I'm going to say I want the cross of the moving average and PT, okay? I'm going to make this a cell arrow, okay? So we go into the properties here and make it a cell arrow. I like to put them above and above. So we click on OK, click on OK, and now you can see we have the cross up, okay? David says, this stuff is great, Jeff. I've been doing this all by hand on paper. One of the things, too, is if you get stuck, like one of the things that I think is cool is somebody will write code for you for $30. But there's a place where you can request it on our website. But it's really not that hard. So Scott asked a good question. How do I make this into an exploration? So let's say we wanted to search for that pattern, this cross-up pattern. Then go back into the Expert Advisor. And before I kind of get out of the Expert Advisor, if I wanted to make this as an alert, I could use the exact same code for an alert. So if I wanted an alert to pop up when the cross-up happened, I just use that exact same code. In fact, let's go ahead and do it real quick. We'll take this exact same code. I'm going to come over to the alerts. Go ahead and click on New. I'm going to say this is my buy alert. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put in the condition. Okay. And now anytime that happens when this is attached to a chart, I'll get a pop-up alert. You can take the same code for the cell sync condition. It's all pretty easy to use. Okay. How do we create a scan into it? So let's go back in here. I'm going to go ahead and go into the program here. We're going to go into the Explorer. And let's make a real quick scan using what we did earlier. So I'm going to right-click up here on New Exploration. Okay. I'm going to name the exploration, so we'll name it our pivot scan. Okay. Finds cross or cross scan. Okay. Under the filter here, I'm going to go ahead and take that same code that we used here. We'll define pivot again. Okay. We want the cross up Okay, so this will give it a 1 or a 0. If we wanted to scan for the cross up or the cross down, I can say or, and we can just put in the code for the cross down, which would be cross, and then we just move the pivot around here. And now we can scan for it. Okay. One of the things that I'll do here is I want to know if it's a cross up or a cross down. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to take this same code. Let's take this same code right here. This is the cross up code. Okay. And I'm going to call this cross up. And we'll take the cross down code, which is this right here. It's actually both of these. We'll go ahead and click on this. And I'm going to take out the by condition here. So we just have the cross down condition, cross down. And then I usually put the close in every formula that I do just so I can see what the close price is. So I'll just type in close right there. But that's all you, as long as you have that as a value, it's going to go ahead and return a value back. Richard says, I'm so sorry I got to go. If you don't mind, will you send me a recording? You'll get a recording automatically within an hour. So absolutely. Thanks for coming. Scott says, Jeff makes it look easy. Yeah, it's, hopefully it is easy, and hopefully it's helpful at least. Let's talk a little bit about how to take this and do a system test. And then we'll be done. And it's not really that hard. If we call this cross up our buy condition, then this cross down is our sell condition. Let's say, let's go ahead and kind of create something we can test to see how well it works. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. I'm going to come in here to the system tester. Okay, and what I'm going to do is going to wait for it to load, but I'm going to go ahead and make a new. Come on. All right. Go ahead and I'll right click here on all system tests. Okay, I'm going to create a new system test here. Okay. And this is going to be our pivot system. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and create the buy order. The buy order is exactly the same thing. I want the cross of the pivot up above the moving average. So in other words, everywhere we've put this arrow, that's where I'm going to test buying. Okay. The sell order is going to be exactly the opposite. So we'll go ahead and go long when this comes in on a chart. I'm going to put a sell order in. I'm going to sell that order when the pivot goes down below the moving average. Okay, so I'm just using the same piece of code over and over again. This will get us long. Okay, this will get us out of that long position. So buy order, what is our condition to buy a stock, right? Our sell order is what is our condition to get out of that trade. Okay. Out of that long trade. Okay. So right now, the way that we've got this coded, when we get that cross up on the chart, it's going to buy. When we get the cross down, it's going to get out of that long position. If we also want to go short, what I'd do is I would take this same piece of code, click on sell short order, and just put that code in. So now it's going to, whenever that happens, it's going to go ahead and close its long position. It's also going to go short. See how that works? And to get out of that short, we'll wait for it to get a buy signal. Okay, so buy to cover is where that goes. So buy order, get out of your order, buy a short position, cover the short position. Okay. All right, that's it. Okay, there's stops that you can kind of implement in terms of this system tester. So if you come over to stops, we could say, okay, in addition to getting out for those particular reasons, I want to actually also put in like a maximum loss for my longs and my shorts. You can do a trailing stop. So I'll put in a trailing stop right here. It's just this stops tab right here. Let's say we want to stop for longs and shorts. And we'll just say we want to wait 2 periods and give us a 10% stop loss. Okay. And that's how you do one. You just check mark the ones you want. They have break even, maximum loss, profit, inactivity change, trailing. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. We made the system. Is it? It's going to be under all system tests right here. This is our PT system. Okay. And well, let's go ahead and just test it real quick against the S&P 500. So again, here's your pivot system. Here's the S&P 500. I'm going to have it test it about 250 days on a daily basis. So let's go ahead and start that as a system test. It's going to work, hopefully, and it'll just tell us how well it worked. So that's it. Okay. It's about halfway done. William said, I heard you say a year or so ago that the MetaStock formula language is being rewritten. What is the status of that effort? I didn't mean to say that publicly, but we are actually working on a rewrite to the formula language, and it's coming along. And we're hoping that with our next version of MetaStock to have some of that in there. The thing that I like is they're spending a lot of time making sure that any code you've written for MetaStock will cover over and carry over. So it's in progress. It's one of the things that we're working on, and we're hoping that you'll be able to see some of the results of that here coming up fairly quickly. Let's see how our system test worked, just for fun. Okay. Oh, it actually works pretty good. There you go. So there you go. Looks like our best performing system would have made 108%. And it tested very, very well over the last 250 days. So there you go. I hope that was helpful. Hopefully that made sense. I'm interested. I'm just curious. Let's ask you guys. How many people that are watching here? I don't do this class very often. How many people felt like it was above your head? Just let me know, and then just say above. And if you think it was too basic, type in too basic. I'm very, very curious to see what your response looks like. And if you think it was just right, say just right. Okay. So I always get a little bit nervous. There's a reason why I don't do this very often. Once you start getting into the formula language, it's very, very easy to go ahead and lose people. So let me know what your thoughts are on this one. That's about what I wanted to show you. And we came in very, very good with our time as well. So this just basically kind of talks a little bit about the pivot. If you do want a copy of this expert advisor or this PowerPoint, drop me an email. I'll send you a copy of it. If you don't have MetaStock already, we do have. Well, what's wrong with you? No. We have been rated #1 27, 28 years in a row. We are going to do a special offer. We have a real-time version that's $250 per month. We have a DC version that's $69 per month. We will give you a special offer to try the software that's been rated #1 in its press category for 20 years, 20-something years in a row. And you can do a buy 1 month, get 2 for free. Give us a call, 800-882-3040. You can sign up at metastock.com/P220. You can also visit us online at metastock.com/sales-chat. Omar, Jim said it was, okay, I'm interested. Let's see. Omar says it was above. Jim said it was pretty basic, but still very informative. You're also a great dad. We need simple and go up, please. I think that means it was probably got above your head, but that's okay. Just right, too basic, just right. It's a little tricky when you're kind of trying to design something like this, but maybe we'll do more of an advanced class. I'll put it on the calendar for a little while from now, maybe a month or 2 from now. Anyway, if you need anything from me, feel free to get in touch with me, jeffrey.gibby@metastock.com. I know that so many of you are MetaStock users. Thanks. It's awesome. I really appreciate it. No, Daryl's been with MetaStock for a number of years, and at least I think he has been. I've seen William in here a lot. So we do appreciate that. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. And I'll see you at the next one. Stay healthy. Stay safe.